All right, what is going on, you guys? It is Isaac back in the bedroom with another vaccine video, and today I want to review what looks to be a product monograph for the new Pfizer vaccine. So unless you guys have been living under a rock, the UK has authorized Pfizer and BioNTech's new coronavirus vaccine. It looks like the same thing's going to happen in Canada pretty soon, and it looks like within the next couple of weeks, your grandma, your granddad, older Canadians and people at high risk are going to start to become vaccinated with this vaccine. So what I want to do with you today is review what looks to be the product monograph for this agent. So if you go on UK's website, if you go on the UK's government website and you scroll down, they have a document that is called, the title is Reg 174, Information for UK Healthcare Professionals. I assume this is referring to Regulation 174, which has given temporary authorization for this vaccine in the UK. And this honestly looks like a monograph, or at least it gives the appearance of a monograph. So yeah, I thought, since a lot of people are going to be getting this drug injected into their deltoid muscle, we might as well know a thing or two about this product. And what better way to learn about a drug than to go through the monograph for it? So this is for those of you who are too lazy to read the monograph yourself, or for people who just want some company when learning about drug information. So today, I'm just going to take you on a tour of the monograph for this new Pfizer vaccine. So let's start off. So the name, okay. So it does not have UK okay, so blah, blah, blah. This product will be closely monitored to allow for quick, okay, knew I did, blah, 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 report side effects, obviously. Okay, the name of this product, so this is the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine. It is called BNT162b2 concentrate for solution for injection. It's an interesting name. All right, so qualitative and quantitative composition. This is a multi-dose vial. It must be diluted before use, and one vial contains 5 doses of 30 micrograms of the vaccine, which is embedded in lipid nanoparticles. Interesting. So each dose is going to be 30 micrograms. COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 is a highly purified single-stranded 5' capped messenger RNA produced by cell-free in vitro transcription for the corresponding DNA templates encoding the viral spike protein of SARS-CoV-2. Excellent. That's exactly what we were expecting. Okay, pharmaceutical form, that's a concentrate for injection. So the vaccine is a white to off-white frozen solution. Interesting. Let's move down to clinical particulars, and under therapeutic indications, we can see that it is indicated for active immunization to prevent COVID-19 caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus in individuals 16 years of age and older. So only for people 16 and older. The use, okay, yeah, just use it with guidelines, obviously. Okay, so how do you administer this vaccine? Let's take a look. So you're going to give it intramuscularly, you're going to do it after dilution, and then you're going to give 2 doses 21 days apart. So each dose is 30 micrograms, and after you dilute it, that's going to translate to 0.3 milliliters. And then you're going to do that 21 days apart. Okay, perfect. All right, so I don't know why they're even talking about interchangeability. Obviously, there's no interchangeable products for this vaccine. And yeah, people should get 2 doses, obviously. Okay, so this is interesting. When they did their efficacy trials, they only started measuring efficacy after 7 days from the second dose of the vaccine. So they only really know that you're going to be protected 7 days after the second dose of this immunization schedule. So yeah, so you got to keep social distancing. Well, I guess you could, I don't know how that's going to work, but if everyone were vaccinated, you'd have to wait at least 7 days after the second dose before people could start getting back to normal, whatever, normal is going to be. Okay. So moving on, pediatric population. Okay, so it has not been studied in people under 16, which is interesting because I remember with this study, they looked at people 12 and older. So I guess they just haven't analyzed the data from the people 12 and older. But yeah, so it's not for people under 16. How do you administer it? It's going to be an intramuscular injection into the deltoid muscle after dilution. And over here, it kind of gives you a graph about how to prepare the vaccine. Okay, so no more than 2 hours at room temperature. Okay, so it's going to be like super cold when you get it. And you're going to want to thaw it before you dilute it. So it's going to take 3 hours to thaw at fridge temperatures. You can also do it at room temperature, and it's going to take 30 minutes. And it's going to last 5 days at fridge temperature after it's thawed. But it's only going to last 2 hours at room temperature. So I would probably just thaw it at fridge temperature since it's going to last longer. Okay. So once you've done thawing the vaccine, you're going to let it come to room temperature. You're going to invert it 10 times, make sure that powder is flowing and none of it is getting stuck to the sides. Okay, so then you're going to dilute it with saline solution. So it looks like they want you to dilute it with 1.8 mils of saline solution. Obviously, do everything properly. Make sure that the pressure in the vial is all even, or you're going to spray liquid everywhere. So, do all that stuff properly. And then once you've put the liquid in, then you're going to want to invert it 10 times again to mix it up. Don't shake it, invert it. And then, so it should look like an off-white solution with no particulates visible. Okay, discard, so if it doesn't look right, then throw it out, obviously. Blah, blah, blah. So after it's diluted, the vial contains 5 doses of 0.3 milliliters. And this is really interesting because over here, it says that you're mixing in 1.8 mils of saline into a vial that already has powder in it. So I'd imagine you'd get at least 2 mils of solution after you're done diluting, but you only have 5 doses of 0.3 mils, so you're only withdrawing 1.5 mils in total, so you're gonna have like 0.5 mils left over. So that's interesting. I wonder why you're gonna have that left over. But anyways, that's what they want you to do, and that's what they want you to do. So let's move on. Okay, contraindications. Obviously, if you're allergic to anything inside the vaccine, that's gonna be a contraindication. Special warnings and precautions for use. Okay, traceability. So just like any other vaccine, record the batch name, batch number, DIN number, whatever. General recommendations. Okay, let's look at these general recommendations. Okay, so appropriate medical supervision, obviously. Okay, so you got to postpone the injection in people with acute severe febrile illness. So like people with really bad fevers, I guess. You got to wait until they get better before you give them the vaccine. People who are on anticoagulant therapy or with a bleeding disorder that would contraindicate intramuscular injection should not get the vaccine unless the benefit outweighs the risk. That's interesting because most people on anticoagulants get their vaccines normally and it doesn't really change anything. They might bleed for a little bit longer after you give it to them. So I would assume that it would be pretty normal. I don't know what kind of anticoagulant therapy you'd have to be on for it to be contraindicated or for there to be problems, but I think most anticoagulants would be fine. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm just some guy, so if you're looking for medical advice or if you are looking for information about COVID or about any of the vaccines, do not watch this video, watch someone else's video because I am a layperson and nothing I say is true. I'm just reading, I'm just some guy, so don't listen to what I'm talking about. Okay, anyways, moving on. Immunocompromised persons, including individuals receiving immunosuppressant therapy, may have a diminished immune response to the vaccine. There are no data available about concomitant use of immunosuppressants. So that's like your prednisone, your organ transplant drugs, that kind of stuff. They don't know if it's going to be as good. Okay. As with any vaccination with COVID-19 may not protect all vaccine recipients. Okay, obviously. So they don't know what happens if you get the vaccine, but you've already had another vaccine. They don't know. Some excipient information. So excipients is just like the other stuff that's inside the vaccine that's not the active ingredient. So it's got some potassium, not very much potassium, probably not a clinically significant dose. It's got some sodium, not very much sodium, probably not a clinically significant dose. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's talk about interactions with other medical products and other forms of interaction. No studies have been performed, obviously. Don't use it with other vaccines. Don't mix it with other vaccines in the same syringe. That would be interesting. Imagine mixing your COVID vaccine with your shingles vaccine for that double protection. But yeah, they don't want you to do that. So, okay, so let's talk about fertility, pregnancy, and lactation. Obviously, there aren't any pregnancy studies done, so don't use it if you're pregnant. If you're going to become pregnant, wait 2 months after your second dose. They want you to wait 2 months after your second dose before becoming pregnant. So they're probably going to want you to use birth control until then. Breastfeeding, they don't know, obviously. So yeah, don't use it if you're breastfeeding. Fertility, they don't know. Hopefully it doesn't have an impact on fertility. That would really suck. But yeah, they don't know about that either. Okay. So effect on ability to drive and use machines. It's probably not going to have an effect on your ability to drive and use machines other than some of the side effects that it causes, which I'll get into. So like arm soreness, fatigue, mild fever, those types of things. If you think those are things that are going to affect your ability to drive or use machines, you might want to take that into consideration if you're going to get this vaccine. Okay, undesirable side effects. So let's get into the safety summary of this vaccine. Okay, so this paragraph over here is pretty much just outlining how they did the trial. I'm just going to talk about study 2 because study 1 only enrolled 60 participants, which is not very many. Yeah, so about 40,000 participants, 12 and older. I think like half in the placebo, half in the treatment group, blah, blah, blah. Over here, they talk about characteristics. So like pretty good split between men and women. 82% were white. So not a very good split between ethnicities, in my opinion. You know, not a lot of diversity with respect to ethnicity. So yeah, so 9.6 were black, 26 were Hispanic or Latino. Oh, that's interesting. So I guess some people were like half white, half Latino or something. And then only 4.3 were Asian. That's not very many. 0.7% were Native American. Yeah, so not great diversity when it comes to ethnicity. Are these safety results going to carry over to different ethnicities? That's what I'd be interested in, because it doesn't look like they have great diversity here. Okay, so most frequent adverse reactions. So let's talk about these. So we've got fatigue, headache, muscle pain, chills, joint pain, fever. Okay, so those are all the most common ones. You're probably going to be tired. You're probably going to get a headache. You're probably going to have some muscle and joint pain and chills. That's what I would say from these. If you like, you can use medication for your fever or for your pain. So Tylenol, paracetamol, you just take a Tylenol, just like with any other problems in your life, just take a Tylenol. It's pretty standard advice. Pretty much what I would expect from a doctor. Just take Tylenol. Okay, so adverse reactions from clinical studies. Okay, so I guess they're getting a bit more specific here. They kind of outline what's common, what's, very common, uncommon, rare, very rare. They kind of give you the frequencies for all of those. Okay, so let's talk about swollen lymph nodes. That's something that's uncommon. So that's something that's going to be, less than 1% to 0.1%, something like that. Headaches are very common. Muscle pain and joint pain are common, of course. Injection site pain, fever, blah, blah, blah. That's also common. Yeah, that's common. Redness and swelling, it's common. Malaise, uncommon. Nausea, common. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is how you report it. I don't think that's super important. Overdose. And I actually think for this vaccine, overdose is relevant. These are multi-dose vials that the healthcare provider is diluting. So someone is going to screw this up. Someone is not going to put enough saline in, and they're going to give someone like triple the dose or something. So I think this overdose information is relevant. Okay, so they looked at people who received 58 micrograms of the vaccine in clinical trials. So 58 micrograms is double the dose of what a regular dose is, which is like 30 micrograms. And anyways, these people who got double the dose did not report an increase in reactogenicity or adverse events. So no issues with doubling the dose. They don't know, if you triple or quadruple the dose, they don't really know, but probably is not going to be too bad. Okay. So let's move down. Pharmacodynamic properties. Okay, interesting. So mechanism of action. The nucleoside modified messenger RNA in COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 is formulated in lipid nanoparticles, which enable delivery of the RNA into host cells to allow expression of the SARS-CoV-2 S antigen. The vaccine elicits both neutralizing antibody and cellular immune responses to the spike antigen, which may contribute to protection against COVID-19 disease. I like how they say may contribute, as if neutralizing antibody and B cells and T cell responses to the antigen might protect you. Just maybe. If it's possible it's caused by something else, you don't know. We don't know what it's caused by. But perhaps it's possible. There's a chance that it's being caused by these antibody and these B cell and T cell responses that we found in the phase 1 and 2 clinical studies. It's possible that that's what's protecting people against the COVID-19 disease, but we don't know. We can't say for sure. We got to do more research about this. I like how they always write this way. Scientists. But so let's keep going down. So now they're talking about efficacy. So like how well does it work? How effective is it? They outline the study over here. Again, the first study was 60. Second study I'm going to talk about because it was bigger. Multi-center, placebo-controlled efficacy study in participants 12 years of age and older. It was randomized as well. Nice. That's what I like to see. And it was stratified by age. So you've got a couple different age groups. Yeah, I guess they haven't looked at 12 through 15 years of age yet, because they say that they're not supposed to use this vaccine, but this was an age group that they studied. So I'm not sure why. But yeah, so that's an age group, 16 through 55, 56 and older. Okay, so we've got lots of people in the older age group. Nice. So they didn't include people who already had COVID. Interesting. But they did have people with comorbidities, so like pre-existing stable disease. Okay. HIV, hepatitis C, hepatitis B. Okay. All right, so this is like the one I was talking about last time. We've got 40,000 about split evenly into control and treatment, blah, 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 25 days, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I guess when they analyzed this efficacy endpoint, they only looked at 36,000 participants of the 44,000. So like 18,000 in each group. And they did not have evidence of prior infection with COVID-19. Okay. So they didn't have evidence of prior infection through 7 days after the second dose. So up until 7 days after the second dose, they did not have any COVID infections. Okay, cool. Okay, so here we've got the breakdown of demographics again. Like I said, too many white people, not enough ethnically diverse, not enough ethnic diversity, I would say, but that's okay. This is what we're working with here. Information, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so when they looked at the data, out of all the people that got COVID-19, and we had 170 people who got infected with the virus, and I think this was confirmed by polymerase chain reaction. Yeah, polymerase chain reaction. So this was confirmed by PCR, and they found that 8 people were inside the treatment group and 160 people were inside the control group. This gives you an efficacy rate of roughly 95%, I believe. Yeah. When they looked at people who are 65 or older, the efficacy rate was still around 95%, 94.7%. And we've got some statistics stuff over here. Statistics. I do not understand statistics, so I am not going to talk about that stuff. But yeah, but we've got, wider confidence intervals for the older participants, I guess they didn't have, the sample size of older people is bigger, so there's more uncertainty when it comes to looking at efficacy for them. So they've got these wider confidence intervals. Okay. So separate analysis compared to placebo, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they also looked at the efficacy of this vaccine with people who had or had not had prior infection with SARS-CoV-2. So they included people who also had the infection with the coronavirus in the analysis. When they also included them, the efficacy was still 95%. Okay, so like 95% effective. That's what I would say. Okay, no clinically meaningful difference. There were no meaningful clinical differences in overall vaccine efficacy in participants who are at risk of severe COVID-19 disease, including those with one or more comorbidities that increase the risk of severe. Okay, so people with asthma, people who are obese, people with COPD, with diabetes, blah, blah, blah. It seems like it also protects those people. Perfect. Nice. Oh yeah, and like I was saying, this is a polymerase chain reaction. So that's how they diagnose people with COVID. Cool. Blah, blah, blah. Pharmacokinetic properties not applicable. But why not? I feel like they would be applicable. Okay, preclinical safety data. Non-clinical data reveal no special hazard for humans based on conventional study of repeat dose toxicity. Animal studies into potential toxicity to reproduction and development have not been completed. So yeah, they don't know if it's going to affect fertility and, pregnancy, embryos, that kind of stuff. Okay, so preclinical safety data. Non-clinical data reveal no special hazard for humans based on conventional study of repeat dose toxicity. Animal studies into potential toxicity to reproduction and development have not been completed. Okay, so I guess they just give animals like increasing doses of this vaccine and measure how long it takes for them to and measure all of their different health markers, and they didn't find anything special or unique about that. But they have not done studies into potential toxicity to reproduction, so they haven't done the pregnancy studies in animals. They don't really know they don't really have any idea if it's going to cause birth defects or affect that kind of stuff. So I think that's what we can gather from this preclinical safety data. It's probably safe. Like, their animal safety data is pretty normal. They haven't gotten a chance to look into reproduction and development animal toxicity data. So I guess that kind of stuff would take longer because you got to get the animal pregnant, and then you got to give them the drug when it's pregnant, and then you got to see what kind of birth defects pop up. So that kind of stuff they haven't gotten around to yet. Okay, so let's scroll down to pharmaceutical particulars. And here we're talking about the list of excipients. So you've got these 3 really long words over here. So these 2 things, I think they are the proprietary lipid nanoparticle that is encapsulating the mRNA. I think this is the proprietary, these are kind of like parts of the proprietary formula that BioNTech uses, I believe. And then this thing over here, this is an ingredient that helps get the mRNA into the lipid nanoparticle, which protects the mRNA from the outside world, because mRNA otherwise is very unstable and would not be able to get into the cells where it's supposed to go to without protection from this type of mechanism. So that's what I believe these things are for. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, the rest of these ingredients are pretty standard when it comes to pharmaceuticals. So you could probably find these in a lot of other pharmaceutical products. So all of these ingredients have pretty good safety profiles, I believe. Okay, so incompatibilities. In the absence of compatibility studies, this medicinal product must not be mixed with other medicinal products. Okay. So just don't take any drugs that you don't have to take when you're being vaccinated. I'm not a doctor, but I think if you had diabetes and you're taking diabetes drugs, or if you had high blood pressure and you were on high blood pressure drugs, you'd keep taking those drugs. You wouldn't, discontinue them when you're being vaccinated. But if you don't have to take a drug, don't take it if you're being vaccinated, because they don't really know what kind of interactions there are. I think that would be what I would gather from this section. Okay, so shelf life. So it lasts for 6 months at -1,000,000. Okay. Special precautions for storage. Okay, so freezer or thermal container. Okay. Protected from light. After thawing, the vaccine should be diluted and used immediately. However, in-use stability data have demonstrated that once thawed, the undiluted vaccine can be stored for up to 5 days at fridge temperature or up to 2 hours at room temperature. Prior to use, during storage, minimize exposure to room light and avoid exposure to direct sunlight and ultraviolet light. Thawed vials can be handled in room light conditions. Okay. After dilution, store the vaccine at that, use immediately within 6 hours. The vaccine does not contain... Okay, so before you dilute it, it only lasts 2 hours. The powder itself only lasts 2 hours at room temperature. But after you dilute it, it looks like it lasts 6 hours at room temperature. That's what I gather from this. Either way, it doesn't last very long. You got to keep it at -1,000,000 if you want it to last for longer than a second. Okay, the vaccine... The vaccine does not contain a preservative. Discard any unused vaccine. Okay. So diluted, the vaccine should be marked with the dilution date and time. Once thawed, the vaccine cannot be refrozen. Okay. Nature and contents of container. The concentrate for solution for injection for 5 doses in a 2 milliliter clear vial, type 1 glass with a stopper in a flip-off plastic cap with an aluminum seal. Pack size is 195 vials. Okay. Okay. Special precautions for disposal and other handling. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, authorization, market authorization holder, market authorization numbers, date of authorization. Okay, so they don't have any more information. All right. So that wraps up my run through of the product Monograph. If anything I say sounds incorrect or uninformed, let me know in the comment section below. I hope you learned something new about this new Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. And I hope if you are someone who is administering this vaccine or someone who is going to have this vaccine, I hope you learned something useful. And yeah, I hope this information benefits you. As always, if you have any questions about this video, let me know in the comment section below. I love to hear your opinions, but for now, I'll see you in the next video.